What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode. That's right, 4 days in a row. I'm going to keep saying it because consistency is key. This weekend, not going to be bringing much content, I don't think, to YouTube, but today we got a special one. We're going to be talking 3 off-season trade ideas that the Raptors should humor over the off-season because, as we know, the Raptors have some gaps in their game, and we're going to try and fill a few of those. A couple things to think about is rebounding, rim protection, half-court scoring, and then also building younger, building towards the future, trying to win a title, and maybe buying someone low and selling high. There's been a lot of rumors about this guy. That's going to be one of our trades here. But today, it's going to be a fun episode, so let's get right into it, guys. Start with Bradley Beal. That's the first guy that comes to mind. Let's talk about the Washington Wizards. They don't have much of a future as a team right now. They've got to build younger. We know that. And Bradley Beal's one of their cornerstone players that has a lot of value, in addition to Westbrook as well. But I think Bradley Beal is going to be a marquee agent, a marquee asset, I should say, that a lot of teams are going to be targeting because he brings half-court dynamic offense. He can facilitate in that half-court setting. He can get buckets. He was second in scoring in the entire NBA, and he's a go-to offensive first option. And for the Raptors, these are all things they need, in addition to him being a competent enough defender and the Raptors having enough defensive talent to build around him. And I think that he addresses, like I said, a couple of needs for the Raptors. Half-court offense. They struggle in the half-court. Last season we saw it. They were a transition-dependent team, which isn't great when you want to make the playoffs, when you get in tight games. And that's a big reason why they lost a lot of those close games. They would win games by a lot. They would lose games by a little. And the reason why was because they couldn't close out in the half-court offense, in a half-court offensive situation. And that's why Bradley Beal is the perfect fit. He's a guard. He'll fill in that void that Lowry had, with Van Vliet transitioning more to a point guard role and Beal being a go-to scorer at the guard position. And like I said, a competent defender. You don't lose too much on that side of the ball as well. So here's the package that I put together. Let me know if you guys like it. So it's Bradley Beal, and in return, they get the 4th pick in this draft, a 2023 first, 2025 first, so 3 picks, and Lowry. And the reason why you do Lowry is because you have to match his salary. Bradley Beal makes somewhere in the $25 million to $30 million range. If you give Lowry a 2-year, $50 million contract or a little more, you're more than likely going to be matching that salary pretty easily. And they're going to get an asset that they can flip at the trade deadline as well and get more picks out of it. I think it's a good package. You're getting the 4th overall pick this year, so you can add a guy like Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs, or if they want to draft up, that's totally up to the discretion of the Washington Wizards. I'm not here to talk about them, but I do think this is a trade they would humor. And in return, the Raptors would get a go-to scorer and a guy who's definitely better for their current roster, given that they want to compete right away, versus developing a young guy and having to wait multiple years, which is usually what it takes in modern NBA basketball for a guy to build up to become a competent player and to be a go-to guy for a championship team, which we don't know if these young guys could be. So I think that's one of the most interesting trades for me. This is my favorite. Let me know what you guys think. Trade number 2, Miles Turner. And this isn't a sexy trade by any means. This isn't a guy that you're going to be like, oh my God, I want Miles Turner. But he can provide the Raptors a lot of stuff that they didn't have last season. The addition of Khem Birch proved that they can really get a lot from a competent defender, a competent guy who's versatile on defense, who can block shots, protect the rim, and even Birch was stepping out and shooting a few threes there. I don't think he shot it well, but he at least took those shots and made the defense be honest. And Miles Turner can do that at a better level. He's an elite rebounder, an elite defender, can protect the rim, and he can shoot from the outside. We saw him develop the 3-ball last year. I don't have his stats in front of me, but I'm going to put him up here. And he's just proven that over the last little while, he can be a better player than he is, or at least has proven to be next to a guy like Sabonis. And with the Raptors, he'd be a natural fit at the 5 position. He'd be versatile on defense and the pick-and-roll coverage that they desperately need. A guy similar to Khem Birch, and it really fulfills that center need that the Raptors do have to fill, because you can't just rely on Khem Birch and Boucher. You need a little more there, especially because Miles Turner, I feel like, is a modern big, and he fits that mold really well for Toronto. And here's the package. You guys might not like it, but this is a really realistic package, and I think both teams would definitely consider it. So for Toronto, they would get Miles Turner, and in return, the Toronto Raptors are going to give up the 2023 first-round pick, so not the pick this year, but a pick in the future. You could probably do top 3 protected or something small like that, but you give them a future first-round pick for a guy like Miles Turner. You give them Rodney Hood to fill the salary, and then Chris Boucher as that key asset back in return. They get a draft pick. They get a little change of scene there. They can try and place Sabonis at the 5. You get Boucher coming off the bench, who's a really solid guy, and Toronto gets a starter-level player who can really bring it right now versus a guy like Boucher, despite being 27 or 28, however old he is, still doesn't feel like he's fully ready for that NBA mold. He's obviously plays younger than he actually is, and I think Miles Turner would be a better fit for Toronto right now. Let me know what you guys think. I know you guys are going to roast me because you love Boucher, but the truth is we fall in love with our own players. Boucher is what he is right now, and Miles Turner, I think, is a better fit, better player for the pick-and-roll coverage, makes less mistakes on defense, and I think he's just a better fit overall for Toronto if they want to compete next season. The third pick, and this one's interesting. I've heard a lot about Ben Simmons, and I think his value is at an all-time low right now. Right? Ben Simmons has never been scrutinized more. We're seeing it now that he was next to an MVP, that he's been given a lot of opportunity to be that second guy and hasn't been able to deliver, can't shoot a free throw, but I think that's stuff that can be fixed. He's going to put in the work. I think he's a hardworking guy. And like I said, his value's at an all-time low. You can probably get him for cheap. And Nick Nurse, as we know, is one of the best at developing shooters through the pill method, which can help fix the jumper, can really help him with his hand positioning, help him understand how to shoot the ball better, more confidently, more consistently. And I think if he can develop a free throw shot, and I think if he can put a little bit more effort into it under the right coaching staff and in a new place, I think that he can definitely improve on that from that perspective. So that's why I think he could be a good pick for the Toronto Raptors. He has a higher ceiling too than the guys that I'm going to be trying to trade him with. Like, the truth is, he was an All-NBA player last season. Ben Simmons can be a superstar in the league despite not even having a jump shot. He's a better passer than Giannis. He's not as good at running the floor. He's not even a better shooter than Giannis, but he's built similar. He is, and that's just the truth. He's just a lower level of that, and I think that adding him to the roster would be amazing for Toronto because you get a young guy with super high upside. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And I think that Nick Nurse is the right guy to have with him. He also loves transition and can split, and we can space the floor around him, which is why I think the fit is perfect. If you have Ben Simmons next to Van Vliet, Gary Trent, OG, and maybe Miles Turner as a shooter, like, that's just such a great fit around him with the ability to stretch the floor around him. But there is going to be a price to getting Ben Simmons, and the price is not going to be super high as it would have been last season, but it's not going to be low. And that's why my two packages that I have, you may not like them, doesn't really matter to me. This is what I think is a fair valuation for him. I've heard it a lot. I already put this on my last YouTube video, but the first one is Lowry in the 4th pick for Ben Simmons. Like I said, they get a veteran point guard who can help feed the ball to Joel Embiid. Toronto gets Ben Simmons, which I just mentioned, all of the benefits to having a guy like him with super high upside. Can play good in transition, great defender, super high upside too. Probably more upside than any pick you could get at the 4th overall spot. That's just the truth. Ben Simmons was the first overall pick for a reason a few years back. Second package, which I haven't really shown anyone yet, and this one I've heard as well. Pascal Siakam for Ben Simmons, 1-for-1. And you might be thinking, whoa, Pascal Siakam's way better than Ben Simmons. Pascal Siakam's a better player than Ben Simmons right now. That is true. And I don't think you can really deny it. He's got a more versatile offensive game. He's not as good defensively, but Siakam is a good defender. And Ben Simmons is a better passer, probably about similar at running the floor together. They probably have a similar game in transition. Ben Simmons, though, is more of a project player, and this might contradict what I've been saying before, which is to contend next season. But I think that if you get him, Ben Simmons, you'll at least have the opportunity to compete in a few years because he's going to develop potentially into a superstar level player, and he has higher upside. versus being about as good as Siakam is right now, but I'd say just a tiny bit below, but about the same level. Like Siakam, though, I understand the concern because he's been so good too. So this one I'm not sure about, and the reason why this one makes more sense is because, I guess it makes more sense from the Raptors' perspective. It might not make a ton of sense necessarily for the Sixers because then they're kind of have a depleted guard spot. They'd have a couple young guys in like Maxey who could maybe run the point, but I think that Lowry makes more sense for them in the 4th overall pick. But for Toronto, Siakam and Simmons playing together would be rough to watch because of the spacing. And as we know, Siakam's almost lost his jump shot too, his three-pointer. So that's my third one. Let me know what you guys think. I know you guys are not going to love that trade, but I mean, that's the third option, and I think it's a good one. I'd still think Beal and Turner are my favorites, but I'm open to the opportunity to pick up Ben Simmons because he's a good player. And just because you watched him play a couple bad games doesn't mean he's going to be bad. And I think everyone's overreacting. And if I know something about Masai Ujiri, it's that he likes to pick up assets when they're at an all-time low. When he picked up Kawhi Leonard, he was at an all-time low. And we didn't even know if he was going to play for Toronto. He took a risk, and it paid out. I could see him doing a similar thing here. Thank you guys for listening. As usual, make sure to subscribe, like the show. I appreciate all the support. I'll catch you guys on the next episode, most likely starting early next week. Peace out, everybody.